Please do not worry, as we will take over the $3 million inheritance and the apartment buildings left by your father." Kathy, my brother's wife, declared confidently. Filled with joy, or so it seemed, she smiled in front of the portrait of my father, who had passed away. She looked like the embodiment of evil. However, she was under a grave misunderstanding. Until that misunderstanding was cleared, I would patiently endure. I couldn't let all that my father left fall into the hands of such a person. "My name is Sarah. I am a 45-year-old unmarried woman." "Hey, Sarah, could you do a final check on the blueprint that's due tomorrow?" "Sure, Dad." At my father's request, I started the final check on the blueprint. I work at my father's architectural firm, handling both clerical and design work. Ever since I was young, I've been interested in my father's work, aspiring to have the same career as him. For this purpose, I studied architecture and design in high school and university and joined my father's company immediately after graduating. We have continued the business together. I have been designated as the next manager by my father, and I have the trust of our employees. I have an older brother who is 5 years older than me and a liberal arts major, but he has no interest in design and is unlikely to be involved in the management or operation of the company in the future, so I am not particularly worried about the succession of the business. It is a small company with about 15 employees that my father took over from my grandfather. I intend to cherish and grow this company from then on. That's my resolution. Dad, I've finished all my work. I'll head home and start preparing dinner. Thank you, and good job for today. My father normally insists that employees leave on time unless there is a special situation. On that day, as 6 p.m. approached, most of the staff had already left for home, and only my father and I remained in the office. He always said a manager should work diligently and not slack off, and he would work late into the night every day. I have respected my father for many years for this. However, he was turning 75 that year. He was not young anymore, and I wished he would avoid overworking. Upon arriving home, the house was pitch black. My mother had died in an accident when I was in my 20s, and now it's just my father and I. As I turned on the light and was about to start preparing dinner, I heard the door opening. "Oh, Sarah, are you here?" It was the voice of Kathy, my brother's wife. I wondered what she needed at dinner time. "What brings you here so late?" "I don't care about you." "Where's your dad?" I honestly couldn't feel any affection from Kathy's harsh words. It seemed she hasn't had very good feelings toward me since before she married my brother. "Don't depend on your parents and live a sloppy life. Don't expect to rely on us when you get older," she would often say. I live independently without relying on my father and have no intention of asking my brother and his wife for help in my old age. But arguing is pointless. No matter what I say, she doesn't listen. She continued her barrage of words. "Claiming you're not dependent while you have a job thanks to your father's business? You can't predict the future as you age. You should save up for retirement early." She would always criticize me at every opportunity. After speaking with her, I realized that talking to someone who harbors ill feelings toward me is meaningless. Since then, I've tried to avoid her as much as possible. My brother got married in his 40s, so they don't have children. Yet, she had the audacity to tell me, being unable to have even one child, "You're a burden to society." That statement applies to her as well, but I never said it out loud. That's because my brother told me Kathy once had an illness and can't have children because of that. So, please avoid that topic. I know there's a difference between a person who can't have children even though he or she wants it and a person who can wish for it but decided not to. But still, I couldn't comprehend what made my brother decide to marry her. Around that time, question marks seemed to be floating above my head all the time. Oh, how I detested them. "So, when will your dad be returning home?" "Dad will likely be home late tonight. He said he would stop by the apartment first." That apartment, huh?" Kathy said with a sly smile. "That apartment was originally passed down from my grandfather to my father. While we no longer owned it, Dad still cherished it as a property I received from my dad and regularly checked on it. He even actively did the cleaning and weeding that the property management company usually handled, apparently to the residents' delight. Hearing that Dad wouldn't be back soon, Kathy quickly gathered her things and began to prepare to leave. What could her true purpose be? Make sure you tell your dad that I came to check on him. Don't forget. After giving me these instructions, Kathy looked around the house, then left. Dad, Kathy came over. I wonder what she wanted. I don't know. She came over when I was alone before, but she just sat there and didn't really do anything. Honestly, I'm glad I wasn't home, my father said with a wry smile. Neither Dad nor I could grasp her true intentions. Well, she is a bit odd, so maybe her motives are incomprehensible to us normal folks. But I don't mind it much. Sarah, dinner was delicious today as well. I'm always grateful, Father said with more gratitude than usual. What's with you all of a sudden? It feels weird. I joked, and my father laughed shyly. You've become so reliable, Sarah. Maybe it's about time for me to retire. What are you talking about? I still have so much to learn from you, Dad. Is that so? Well, I guess I'll take a bath and head to bed. Good night. Good night. A week later, he suddenly collapsed at work. At the time, I was in a meeting at a client's office and received an urgent call from a colleague. Sarah, the boss. My father, unconscious, was rushed to the hospital. I immediately wrapped up my work and headed to the hospital, called my brother right away, and then contacted Kathy. My brother promised to come to the hospital quickly, but Kathy's response was, do I need to go there? You're there, aren't you, Sarah? What? To have such a reaction when your father-in-law is in critical condition. However, it was pointless to argue now. I tried to remain calm and persuade her. Actually, Dad's condition is quite critical. At least come to say goodbye. You used to visit my father often, didn't you? But an unexpected response came back. Yeah, I was just trying to be in his good books, hoping to get some information about the inheritance. Hearing Kathy say that so nonchalantly, I was speechless. I'm not good with hospitals. And if there's a funeral, I need to get my hair and nails done. I don't have time to go to the hospital. Her utterly impossible attitude was brimming with vitality. This person is simply no good. Understood, then never mind. I couldn't contain my anger and raised my voice. I hoped this outrage would make her reflect, even if just a little. But the response that came back was this: contact me after he passes away. I'm busy too. Her dismissive tone increased my anger toward her. She was more than just an unpleasant person. Being legally recognized as family, as sisters with such a person, was unbearable. 2 hours after that call, my father passed away quietly. He was 75 years old. We immediately began arranging the wake and the funeral. There wasn't even time for the family to mourn due to the rush of various preparations. Despite this, my brother, who should be fulfilling his duty as the chief mourner, seemed emotionally detached. Sarah, did Dad have any special illness? His passing seemed so sudden. What exactly does the chief mourner do? Do you know? Wait, I have to give a speech. That's such a hassle. At 50 years old, my brother was failing to fulfill his role as the chief mourner. I was angered by his nonchalant remarks, but I was even more astonished by Kathy's attitude. Why should I, as the wife of the eldest son, have to step forward? I hate troublesome things. You do it. With that, she immediately disappeared to the back. I was also scrambling with greeting the attendees, detailed meetings with the funeral home, and interactions with the company. In the midst of all this business, her indifference was unbearable. I could understand feeling inconvenienced since he wasn't her own parent, but such an attitude was inexcusable. My anger turned to sadness. Well, Kathy has her own difficulties, too. Sarah, please handle her part as well. My brother was always taking Kathy's side. Does he even know the rude things his wife has said? Those words nearly escaped my lips, but I felt it was futile to inform my ineffectual brother of the reality. In the end, I ignored my brother and his wife and focused on fulfilling my duties. With the help of relatives, we managed to complete the funeral without incident. It was during the first 7 days of mourning when the relatives gathered again, sharing drinks. He passed away without suffering, so he must be content now. The one who spoke to me was my father's younger sister, my aunt, who was 15 years his junior, still young at 60. To me, my aunt was like a sister whom I could talk to about anything, despite our age difference. As my aunt and I were reminiscing, Kathy suddenly stood in front of us, exuding the aura of a villain from a drama. If this were a drama, even someone who just tuned in would immediately know she's the antagonist. Shall we get started? What are you starting? I tilted my head, not grasping her intention. It's about inheritance. My husband is the eldest son, so the $3 million inheritance and that apartment are rightfully ours. I checked the bank book the other day. My aunt and I were surprised by this abrupt talk of inheritance, exchanging glances. How did she check the bank book, which was securely locked away in the depth of a safe? We were at a loss for words. Kathy, presuming to control the situation, confidently continued. You have the company and this house, don't you? What more could you want? Well, that's... Before I could explain, she unilaterally pushed on with her agenda. Next to her, my brother, as if uninterested, simply kept drinking silently. Maybe I'll raise the apartment rent a bit. If the rental income increases, our life will be easier. Or maybe we could rebuild it. Your dad really left us a valuable inheritance. Her loud voice echoed, and the relatives fell into a hushed silence. But then someone couldn't suppress a laugh. One uncontrollable laugh spread to others, who began to look down, covering their faces with handkerchiefs. Then my aunt whispered to me, "Is she joking? If you have something to say, speak up." Kathy glared at my aunt with her arms crossed, looking imperious. My aunt and I could only offer a wry smile. Taking a deep breath, I began to explain the situation. Kathy, there is no inheritance left for my brother to receive." "What do you mean?" "There's no way there is nothing. Are you trying to trick me?" Kathy's face, once triumphant, now filled with anger. "The circumstances are different. The apartment belongs to my aunt, and I have taken over the company. The inheritance from Dad has already been passed on completely, so there is nothing left for my brother to inherit now." "What? That's news to me. I haven't been informed of anything at all. Since this was decided before my brother married Kathy, it's understandable that she didn't know. Here's the situation. It was only natural for my father to want to pass the company to me after years of working with him. I had initially resisted, feeling it to be a heavy responsibility, but it was very important to him. He had a strong desire to pass his business on to his own flesh and blood. When I decided to take over the management, we went through the proper legal procedures for inheritance with a lawyer. As for the apartment, it's Dad's lifetime gift to my aunt and uncle, a decision made when Grandpa passed away. Everything about the company has been settled, and my brother agreed when it was decided that I would take over. Lastly, the ownership of this family home has also been transferred to my name. So, there is really nothing left for my brother to inherit now. As I carefully explained the details, my brother seemed to recall something and began to speak. Now I remember. Dad gave me a substantial amount of money as a lifetime gift or something. Was that what it was? I got a lot of money all at once and just spent it without much thought. Ahaha. Indeed, my brother used to spend quite lavishly when he was single. He would travel overseas more than 3 times a year, his taste in brands significantly upgraded, and it seemed he would change cars several times a year. So the apartment is in Andy's name. I always thought I would inherit it. My brother must have conveyed such information to Kathy without verifying it. Unaware of the true circumstances of the money he received amounting to nearly $1 million, he had spent almost all of it without a second thought. This was easy to imagine. So what about the bank book with the $3 million in it? That's an old bank book from the company that's no longer in use. But why do you ask? It should have been stored in the safe. That old safe. Perhaps it had been opened with a thin tool of some sort. If so, that would be quite a feat. My aunt frowned and stared at Kathy. At that moment, my brother murmured quietly, "Did Dad hate me?" "What?" I let out an exasperated voice at his unexpected remark. "Because it's just Sarah who gets the special treatment. I've already spent all my money and I have none left. You'll have the house and the company." To such a childish remark, my aunt stood up. "You're an adult now. Why would you say such things? Do you know how hard Sarah worked to take over the company?" "Auntie." My aunt understood the struggles and efforts I had gone through, knowing that my decision to take over the company was not made lightly. She spoke in my defense for that reason. "The financial hardship you're facing is the result of your own actions. It's only natural that your money would run out if you lived so lavishly." I remember Dad frequently worrying about my brother's extravagant lifestyle. Giving him cash might have been a mistake. If such wastefulness continued, bankruptcy would be inevitable sooner or later. I shared his concerns, and my brother used up the lifetime gift he received from Dad within a few years. Not leaving cash behind now is, in a way, a lesson from Dad. One should enjoy luxury from income earned by one's own work, not from unexpected money. My aunt's stern advice made my brother hang his head. However, Kathy was not convinced. "I've never heard of anything like that. Why am I the only one who doesn't know? I can't believe the apartment wasn't his anymore." "That's because it happened before you came into the family. I'm the wife of the eldest son, and I wasn't informed at all. Dad didn't teach me anything." This is strange. Watching Kathy's outburst, it was clear that my father had not discussed the inheritance with her, but I could somewhat understand his intentions. Maybe he had always seen through Kathy's greedy nature, her significant attachment to money. "There's nothing strange about this. It's Dad's will." At my calm response, Kathy's eyes widened and she raised her voice. "I won't accept this. I'll sue you. But you're not even in a position to inherit, so I don't think you have any right to reclaim anything." Hearing my logical statement, Kathy became furious. She knocked over a vase that was a keepsake from our mother, shattered the glasses on the table, and rampaged around, screaming incoherently. What was supposed to be a gathering for my father's memorial turned into an unexpected uproar. Eventually, my brother and other relatives had to intervene to calm her down, and the gathering came to a somewhat peaceful end. "Kathy, I'll send you the bill for the broken vase and glasses later. Wrecking someone's house is not acceptable." "Shut up, you money grubber." With those words, Kathy hastily left the house with my brother in tow. Honestly, if anyone's a money grubber, it's her. It's astonishing how money can change a person so grotesquely. It was a day when I fully realized the true horror of Kathy's nature. In the end, my brother and Kathy got divorced. Surprisingly, the initiative for the divorce came from my brother, who was always hesitant in making decisions. After witnessing her obsession with money, I became scared to be with her. My brother said with a pale face that seemed to indicate he had no visible wealth left and seemed to wonder what would have become of him if he had. Kathy, who was a housewife, claimed she couldn't survive if they got divorced. But then we found out something about her. Actually, Kathy had a criminal record for marriage fraud before we got married. When I brought that up with the lawyer and filed for divorce, she surprisingly agreed to it easily. I was shocked to learn about her unexpected past. However, considering her abnormal fixation on money, perhaps it's not surprising she had some issues. To be honest, I'm relieved that the family ties with such a person have been severed. Yet, I can't help but worry about my brother's lack of judgment. As his sister, I feel concerned. "Sarah, I mean boss, you have a visitor." I stood up at the call from an employee. "There's no need to start calling me boss." I still feel a bit embarrassed by the title, but I am also aware of the grave responsibility I hold to protect this company and its employees. The CEO is the boss. Right, boss? We're all looking forward to the next payday. I can't help but smile at another employee's joke. You all really love your jokes. I'm happy to be recognized as their leader. Dad, I swear I will protect this company. With that resolve in my heart, I hand my business card, printed with President and CEO, to the visitor. "You bought a luxury condo, didn't you? I know about it." "What? It's too good for you, so I'll take it." Calls from my mother-in-law are usually not of a pleasant nature. Indeed, I did purchase an $800,000 condo under my own name, but I had not informed her. Only my husband and I were supposed to know about this. Did you hear about this from my husband? Maybe? And from now on, you will work for me. It was like a declaration that she intended to treat me as a maid. However, I had no intention of simply complying with her demands. Rather, I was planning to use this situation to devise some kind of strategy. So, I pretend to comply. If you say so, I will obey. Humph, it seems you finally understand your place. You should have done this from the beginning. I need to prepare, so I will let you know as soon as the schedule is set. And on the day of the move, I received 30 calls from her. When I answered the phone, "Where is the condo?" "What? It should be right there." "Did you trick me?" I could sense her panic through the phone. It was hard to hold back my laughter. I was in the middle of executing a plan for revenge against my mother-in-law. My name is Stella Brown, 35 years old. I am an ordinary office worker at a securities company. I married Scott 5 years ago. We don't have children, but I feel that our days are fulfilling. Maybe it's time we bought a house. Yes, but a condo isn't a bad idea either. Indeed, buying a condo would increase its value. Single-family homes are nice, but shall we consider a condo too? If you say so, buying a condo seems realistic. Work has always been the center of our lives. We worked moderately and earned a decent income, but the joy of working was the best part. And on my 33rd birthday, I was asked, "Did something nice happen today?" Yes. Listen to this. I got a promotion. I told him when I got home. Really? That's wonderful. You've been working so hard. Thank you. This brings us closer to buying the condo. Then, I can't be left behind. It's good to be motivated, but don't overdo it. Don't worry, I know. Since then, we have worked even harder than before. Even on days when I returned home tired, my heart was filled with happiness. Having someone nearby who works hard too makes you feel like you can push yourself more. A year later, Scott got a promotion. Everything was going as planned. Do you think it's a good time now? A good time? Oh, I see. I've already got the brochures. Typical Stella. Quick as always, right? Hey, I just had a great idea. It's your birthday in 6 months, right? Let's decide by then. I was genuinely happy with this proposal. We decided to buy the condo and move in time for my following birthday. Then we need to decide soon. There are so many options it can be overwhelming. No rush, let's choose something we both agree on. While searching for a condo, we also discussed our future plans. This year, as I turn 35, I also hope to start a family soon. Buying a condo was an important step to achieve that plan. Tomorrow, my mother is coming over. Wow, that's sudden. She's been trying to contact you multiple times. The situation changed abruptly with the arrival of my mother-in-law. The next day, "Scott, I came to visit. What brings you here all of a sudden? Is it not okay for me to come? Besides, I told you I'd be coming." My mother-in-law said this while looking at me disdainfully. It was clear she did not think well of me. "I'm sorry, I've been busy with work recently." "That may be so, but I am your mother-in-law. Do you understand that?" "Of course. I'll be more careful in the future." "Really? It's easy to say things but not mean them." At that moment, my husband intervened. "From what I see, Stella is doing her best at both work and home. Please stop. If you say so, I won't say anything anymore." "So, what brings you here today?" "There's a place I want to go to." My mother-in-law excitedly pulled a travel guide from her bag. "Talking about a trip?" "Yes, the place I want to go is." She continued to passionately talk about the place she wanted to visit. Initially attentive, my husband gradually began to show signs of tiredness, his nods becoming more careless. After all, we didn't even have the time to go on a trip. We wanted to quickly decide on a new home and move. "Wait, Mom, I understand you want to travel, but we are at a critical time right now. The trip can wait, can't it?" "Why? Huh?" My husband couldn't hide his surprised expression at her response. I felt the same way. As Scott just said, maybe we should postpone it to another time. "Stella, don't worry about it, because you'll be staying home alone anyway." "What are you talking about?" I'm talking about a family trip. Then Stella is part of the family too, right? You just said it yourself a moment ago. My husband's point was valid. I waited with anticipation for what my mother-in-law would say next, but her answer was unexpected. I've never thought of Stella as family. What? What does that mean? I was actually against this marriage. But your father insisted. How could you say that? Get out. What? I'm telling you to leave. As my husband raised his voice, my mother-in-law sensed something and silently began preparing to leave. As she left, she turned to me and spitefully said, "Poor Scott, to be deceived by such a woman. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were so disliked. Don't worry about it. I never expected her to like me from the start. If only Dad were still here." Yeah, my father-in-law passed away from kidney disease a year after we got married. As my husband said, if my father-in-law had been alive, my mother-in-law would not have been so furious. He was literally in charge of her. After his death, she became uncontrollable, as if venting on everything. My mother really is a troublemaker. I wonder how we should handle this. Since Dad died, she started coming to us for money, wanting to travel on our dime, it seems. Hasn't she already spent all the inheritance left by your father? Yes, I can't believe her. While we were discussing this, I suddenly noticed something. Huh? Where's the condo brochure that was on the table? What? I didn't move it. No way. There was only one possible explanation. Unbelievable. Did she take it? Isn't that a problem? Definitely a problem. She'll surely bring it up. Should we just make up some excuse for now? It might be difficult because it's her, but we were thinking of taking some action. We decided to bluff our way through, but my mother-in-law was faster than I imagined. The next day, a call came immediately. Are you guys planning to buy a condo? No, we don't have such plans yet. At that moment, my husband switched to speaker mode so I could hear as well. But there was a brochure on the table, right? I see, you did take it. Why didn't you consult me? Consulting you wouldn't change anything, and I've said it multiple times. We have no such plans. Buying a condo is still a long way off. Is Stella there? Surprised by my mother-in-law's sudden question, I shook my head. No, she's not here. What's up? She is not suitable for our family. What are you talking about? Just as I said, I don't feel any respect from her, and I wonder why you married someone like that. The conversation suddenly became intense, and the criticism towards me began. I have no regrets about marrying Stella. I am grateful that she married a boring man like me. Even if you say so, time will reveal the true nature of your wife. My mother-in-law abruptly ended the conversation. It was an unbelievable discussion, not something that can be easily resolved. Both my husband and I sighed. At that moment, my husband's smartphone received a notification. Again, from his reaction, it was clear what it was about. Is she asking for money again? Yeah, this really isn't something we should be doing. My mother-in-law asks for money almost every month. The money she receives is quickly spent. My husband knows this, but after all, she is his mother. Since my father-in-law passed away, my husband was her only son. It can't be helped. My husband has never been able to escape his mother's control. While I understand his feelings, seeing her repeatedly hurl insults at me in front of me, it seemed he was starting to feel that this couldn't continue. Yet, my mother-in-law kept coming to our house, asking when we would buy the condo. So, when are you buying it? As I've told you many times, we have no such plans. It's troubling to have you come every week. What's troubling about it? If you have no plans now, we could plan it together. I'm tired of my current home too. The current house was also left by father, right? Speaking like that is disrespectful to him. But what's the point of thinking about someone who's no longer here? Or can your father do something about it? She's not wrong. However, there's no need to voice it. Hearing her comment, my husband's expression grew even more stern. Please go home for today, and don't come here anymore. Such discussions are sufficient over the phone. You choose Stella over me, your mother? Yes, I do. And clearly, that's your fault. To think you've become so poisoned. Where did the old Scott go? Is that all you have to say? Please leave. We're busy. If you talk to your mother like that, you'll definitely regret it later. My mother-in-law left, dropping a parting shot like a villain in a drama. Every time my mother-in-law came over, I ended up more exhausted than from my regular work. Still, I respected her stance of not yielding to her son's numerous words. How long will this go on? Honestly, I'm getting tired. But if we move, it'll be farther away, so she might not come as often. I hope that becomes reality. The condo we chose was over an hour away by train from our current residence. There were several similar condos nearby, but ultimately, we chose one as far from my mother-in-law as possible. We intended to reset our relationship with her through the move, and we're finally done with moving. When you actually enter the room, you really get its appeal points. It's exciting to think that a new life is starting. Choosing a tower condo was the right decision. We purchased a new tower condo in the suburbs. It cost $800,000. Thinking that putting it under my husband's name might lead to problems if my mother-in-law found out, we put it under my name. However, the next day, I received a call from my mother-in-law. You bought a luxury condo, didn't you? I know about it. What? It's too good for you, so I'll take it. Calls from my mother-in-law are usually not of a pleasant nature. Indeed, I did purchase an $800,000 condo under my own name, but I had not informed her. Only my husband and I were supposed to know about this. Did you hear about this from my husband? Maybe? And from now on, you will work for me. What do you mean? Don't you understand? You'll be useful to me as a maid. I looked up at the ceiling in dismay. However, I had no intention of simply complying with my mother-in-law's demands. Instead, I planned to use this situation to devise some kind of strategy. So, I pretended to comply. If you say so, I will obey. Humph, it seems you finally understand your place. You should have done this from the beginning. I need to prepare, so I will let you know as soon as the schedule is set. Hurry up and decide. For now, I waited for my husband to come home so I could discuss the situation with him. And all I thought about was how to counteract my mother-in-law. At that moment, I was startled by a tap on my shoulder. Are you okay? Yes, just deep in thought. What happened? Well, I just got a call from your mother. I told him about the content of the call. Scott, you didn't talk to your mother, did you? No, I didn't say anything. I thought it would lead to this kind of situation if I did. How did she find out then? I have no idea. Oh, maybe. Suddenly, my husband exclaimed as if he had realized something. What? What is it? Maybe it was my uncle, whom we met recently. Mom's brother. Oh, right. He's not a bad person, but I forgot he's a chatterbox. Sorry, that was my mistake. I was there too, so it's not just your fault. Besides, it's still okay. I answered with confidence. I have a plan in mind. Afterwards, I explained the plan I had thought of to my husband. That might work, but are you sure you're okay to handle the talking? Leave that to me. I'll handle it properly. All right, I trust you. The next day, I called my mother-in-law. I wanted to inform you that we have set a moving date. And when is that? We're planning for next Saturday. Both Scott and I are off that day, so we can help. That's thoughtful of you. Then, what's the address? About that. That's when I told my mother-in-law the address of the new condo. Given it was her, I thought she would simply believe it without verifying the address. To ensure everything went smoothly, we arranged the movers ourselves. We wanted to avoid any mishaps that might occur if the movers, unaware of the situation, said something. We will arrange the movers, so please make sure you're done packing by then. You should have done that from the beginning. Yes, that was my fault. I behaved in a way that gave her as much credit as possible. I was hoping she would experience a greater disappointment on the moving day that way. There was no other reason to do this. The next week couldn't come soon enough for me. Just imagining her reaction when she discovered the truth was so exciting that I could hardly sleep. Is my room well prepared? Of course. We have prepared the best room for you. That sounds wonderful. And you will take care of me. I won't be doing that. Didn't I tell you before? Have you forgotten? The maid thing? That's not possible. Whether it's possible or not doesn't matter. You will do it. I'm getting old, so it's only natural that I be taken care of. My mother-in-law was astonishingly out of touch with reality. For me, I just wanted everything to stay the same until moving day. Furthermore, my mother-in-law got so excited about the moving preparations, she became even more uncontrollable. Today, I got a call from Mom. Did something go wrong again? She went ahead and bought furniture, and the bill is supposedly ours. She does whatever she wants. She should have bought it herself. How much did it all come to? It looks like it's over $1,000. I'm not surprised by anything anymore. This kind of conversation continued, and a week passed. Then, on moving day, I received 30 calls from her. When I answered the phone, "Where is the luxury condo?" "What? It should be right there." "You tricked me, didn't you?" I could sense her panic even over the phone. It was hard to hold back my laughter. I covered my mouth desperately to keep my voice down. "What do you mean? I don't understand. This is no joke. When I went to the address you gave me, there was no condo, just an empty lot." "What? That's strange. There was supposed to be a tower condo there." "Oh, that's the site where the tower condo will be built. I'm sorry, I made a mistake." "Really? What is going on? Give me the correct address." "Well, where could it be?" Of course, I had no intention of giving her the real address. Doing so would have made all our plans pointless. "Scott must be there. Put him on the phone quickly." "He's here, but are you sure that's a good idea?" "Stop talking nonsense and just put Scott on the phone." Then I set the smartphone to the speaker and handed it to my husband. "Hello? What is all this about?" "I'm ready. Just give me the new address of the house." "Before that, maybe you're misunderstanding something. Who said anything about living together? Are you planning to abandon your own mother? Don't say such terrible things. Everything up to this point has been decided by you on your own. You've always done as you pleased." My mother-in-law fell silent at my husband's response. She probably assumed living together was a given. But things weren't that simple. Given the circumstances, this was a natural outcome. She no longer grasped the situation. "Do you understand now? Living together is impossible, so please give up on that idea." "I'm serious. Stop joking around." That's my line. "Unfortunately, you'll have to manage on your own from now on. We won't interfere anymore." "Then how am I supposed to live?" "You'll figure it out yourself. You're not a child." Still, my mother-in-law showed no signs of giving up. "Just give me your condo's address." "That's impossible. If I did, you'd just come over." "And what's the problem with that?" I think Scott should explain it properly. At that moment, my husband looked resolute. "I'll be clear, this is goodbye, Mom. We're no longer going to be involved." "What? Just like that?" "That's right. Do you understand now? Even if you somehow make it here, you won't be let in. I own this house. Stop it. Doing such awful things, and you think there are no issues." Of course, I had no room left in me for sympathy towards my mother-in-law. Her future was none of my concern. "Please don't contact us ever again." "Wait, just..." Before my mother-in-law could continue, I hung up the phone. My husband sighed deeply but didn't look regretful. Was this the right thing to do? Yes. Now we can finally have some peace. Then let's celebrate today. How about we go out to eat? That sounds like a great idea. Let's go right away. My husband's face, as he prepared to leave, was brighter than I had ever seen it before. I didn't regret it either, and I never felt lighter. Thus, we finally cut ties with my mother-in-law. She will no longer receive any financial support from my husband, no matter what difficulties arise. And according to the movers, all my mother-in-law could do was return home. However, at that time, we had not yet set up call blocking. Don't think that you can do this without any consequences. You will see hell from now on. There is no need to worry about that. Instead, you should be careful. You can no longer live as you did before. You'll understand in time, just be prepared. Indeed, watching your decline will be quite interesting. What a hateful daughter-in-law. Apparently, my mother-in-law was unable to curb her old spending habits. As a result, she accumulated debts and even lost the house inherited from my father-in-law. Having lost her place to live, she was forced to seek help from her brother. However, that didn't go well either. According to Uncle, she was kicked out less than a month after moving in. He contacted me this morning. That's just her character. She had been living off your money until now, so she deserves this. I did warn you. She always had such high pride. So what is she doing now? According to Uncle, she's living in a small rundown apartment. Experiencing such an environment might be good for her. It seems she tried to work, but she wasn't welcomed anywhere and couldn't keep a job. And as for us, really, that's wonderful news. I'm incredibly happy about this. It's surprising how quickly we've achieved what I've always hoped for deep down. It's so overwhelming that I'm hardly moved. That's not true. Our family is about to grow. Exactly. I've dreamed of this moment for so long, and I'm glad that our efforts have finally borne fruit. We had finally been blessed with a child we had long hoped for. This was indeed like a gift from heaven, received after a long time and much effort. The future we are about to enter is undoubtedly full of hope and will certainly make our lives shine even more.